Hello class 10C. In our last class, we discussed the topic like what is bases and alkali. After that, we studied about basic oxides and basic hydroxides. Then we just identify whether lead oxide is base or not. Then we discuss about alkalis. Then we talk about strong and weak alkalis, and finally we have seen the statement that all alkalis are bases but all bases are not alkalis. So today we'll see more on bases. So here is a table where we have seen the comparison of weak base and strong base. These are the characteristics on which we have make out the difference between the weak base and strong base. The first one is definition. A weak base is one that only partially dissociates to give ions in solution, whereas a strong base is one that fully dissociates to give ions in solution. So weak base only partially dissociates to give ions, whereas a strong base fully dissociates. So dissociation is partial in this case, weak base, and in case of strong base, it's full. pH value. The pH value for weak base is ranges from 7.3 to 10, and for a strong base, it ranges from 10 to 14. So this is the difference between the weak base and strong base. Next, we'll just try to understand how the dissociation of strong base and weak base will take place. Say for example, we have taken the example of sodium hydroxide. When added to water, it will form sodium ion and hydroxyl ion. Whereas, so to understand this, so we have taken this a beaker, and in this beaker we have kept water and we have added sodium hydroxide. So when sodium hydroxide dissolve in it, it will completely dissociates into positive and negative ion, sodium ion and negative ion. So because of this, since all the ions will get dissociates into ions, it can be called as strong base. Whereas if you take the example of weak base, that is ammonia and water, it will form ammonium hydroxide and OH minus ion. So for this, once again we have taken a beaker, and in this we have added water, and to that we have added ammonia. So you'll find that only few molecules of ammonia will dissociate into ions, whereas others will remain as a molecule, ammonia molecule. This shows that this ammonia in water will act as a weak base. Next is acidity of a base. If you remember, in case of acid, we have defined basicity of an acid. Over here, we need to define acidity of a base. So acidity of a base means number of OH ions produced per molecule of base in aqueous solution for soluble bases, or number of replaceable ions per molecule of the base for insoluble bases. So basically, acidity of a base is the number of OH ion produced per molecule in aqueous solution. Example, sodium hydroxide and potassium hydroxide, if you dissolve in water, they produce one OH minus ion, and because of that they are called as monoacidic bases, because here the acidity is 1. Similarly, if you see calcium hydroxide and barium hydroxide, they are called diacidic bases, because on ionization or dissociation they produce two hydroxyl ion, two OH minus ion. So acidity is 2 over here. In case of aluminum hydroxide and iron hydroxide, ferric hydroxide, they are called triacidic bases, because when we add to water, it will dissociate, or it will give you three numbers of OH minus ion. So here the acidity is 3. So this is about acidity of a base, and we have seen its classification as well along with example. Now properties of bases. Bases have a pH greater than 7, and if you remember, then the acid has got pH less than 7. Since 7 is neutral and above 7 we have got bases. Bases taste bitter. Basis effect indicators. Say for example, red litmus turns into blue and phenolphthalein turns purple. This is for the base. We can identify with this two indicators. Solution of bases feels slippery, so it's soapy in nature, and bases neutralizes acids. So these are the few physical properties, we can say physical properties of bases. So today's assignment number 6. Question number 1, distinguish strong base and weak base. Question number 2, define acidity of a base. Question number 3, define the following term with the example: monoacidic base, diacidic base, and triacidic base, along with the example. And lastly, mention few physical properties of base. So complete this assignment and send it in my mail.